Good, eve- good evening, everyone. I am Paula Fontana, Vice President of Strategic Programming Initiatives with the National Black MBA Association. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for Unapologetically Black, fostering inclusion and living beyond a hashtag. I am so excited about all tonight has to offer because tonight you get exposure to the best of us and that you will hear from thought leaders and change makers from our illustrious organization. From the visionaries who started the association over 50 years ago to our national board members who give their time and talent to govern us as we chart a path forward, our dynamic president and CEO who leads us from day to day, our diligent, hardworking chapter presidents who serve as boots on the ground, touching and impacting communities on a daily basis. So who are we? The mission of the National Black MBA Association is to lead in the creation of educational, wealth building, and growth opportunities for Blacks throughout all stages of their careers as students, professionals, and entrepreneurs. And we do so through a chapter model with over 41 chapters nationwide who enhance the lives of our more than 21,000 members and growing. So if I think about all the crazy events that transpired last year, we found ourselves in this season of racial awareness. So there was increased global visibility of racial injustice, which was the perfect time to shine the light on this need for racial equity through not only listening and learning, but more importantly, taking that next step to lead to ensure that there is truly life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all in this country, and really being citizens of the world, if you will. So during this time, our association called on our business leaders, our academic partners to commit to this difficult and long-term work of improving equity and opportunity within their respective organizations. And with that commitment, they had a safe space. We had crazy, wonderful conversations where we highlighted best practices. And those best practices led to solutions for other organizations as they navigated their journeys to reach diversity, equity, and inclusion. An example of one of those conversations we had with one of our academic partners was Emory's Goizueta Business School with Dean Brian Mitchell. And he described the importance of addressing systemic problems by creating systemic structural solutions. So in the education space, that meant solutions inside the curricular or inside the classroom. And perhaps you have seen our recent post on social media, but I'm so excited to announce that Goizueta has now approved a diversity, equity, and inclusion as a new academic concentration. So not just talk, not just a hashtag, but real action. So it's not just mouth service, but truly it is a movement. Unapologetically Black, fostering inclusion and living beyond a hashtag. So this evening's event is the brainchild of Tracy Harrell, president of our Seattle chapter. She is an impassioned leader whose war cry is that of enacting change. It is my absolute pleasure to bring her to the virtual stage right now to moderate this evening's event. Tracy.
Thank you, Paula. First of all, let me just say thank you to each of you who joined us. We had over 300 people join in a week. That's amazing. And that's because we are the National Black MBA Association. We're the organization who we realize our power as a community. And so what you're participating in today is, so when you look at Paula, turn your camera back on and stop playing. Stop. When you look at Paula, tell me if you don't feel like, can you do it from a Damon? Can you do the Wakanda Forever move? You know what I'm trying to say. Does she not look like the warrior? See? Yes, 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 yes. Okay, the fight is on, people. So what I'm trying to say is you are joining a Wakanda style speed train that has already left the station. Okay, this Bigger Than Me Success Series is work we've been doing for decades, right? We got Jolene and some others that are on who've been doing this work extensively for decades. And what we started a few years ago and got even more intense about was this concept of the Bigger Than Me Success Series. It's about achieving racial equity and inclusion in business, education, wealth, and health. When you think about inclusion in business, it's inclusion for all. So we can talk about racial equity, but really inclusion is something that we all want and we all need and what we can do. The beauty of this work is that we have answers. This isn't just a conversation, we're moving forward. So the first thing I'm going to share, thank you very much, is this video. This video was taken at the national conference, the 43rd annual national conference. And it's a video that we literally was so unplanned. If anyone knows me, I'm very impromptu. So I was like, hey guys, after one of the presentations that I think Damon had just done, I was like, hey, let's do a quick video. So I'm gonna have you watch this quick video. I'm gonna have each of these wonderful people here introduce themselves when the video is over and tell us, what are your thoughts about Unapologetically Black and being, living beyond a hashtag. So we're gonna have you do a 1-minute intro when this is over. Then we're gonna get into a very practical application. We got people who are gonna tell you why this is important, what they've done, that the disparities do exist, but we have solutions. That's what we're gonna cover today. And this is a monthly series, by the way. So we also understand that within this 1 hour, we're not gonna be able to get through everything we want. So in the chat, we have our team, they've put in another Zoom, right? The national team allows us 1 hour for an official webinar, but we know that we're gonna get things hot. So the after hours event will be happening on another webinar. And we're gonna ask you then to bring your voices in as well. So if you hear something that gets you excited, write it down, put it in the chat. We're gonna ask you to also bring your voices forward in that other event that's gonna happen right after this. So can we go ahead and share this video? I don't hear the sound. Did you share the sound, Jasmine? So she may have to unshare and reshare. She may have to unshare and reshare the sounds. I think that's what's going to happen. And while she does that, the other thing I wanted to share with this group is there's a few faces that are international. So this isn't just a national conversation. Tracy Stone, wave your hands. Calling in from the UK. What time is it there for you, Tracy?
11 p.m.
11 p.m. Jasmine, I need you to unshare, stop sharing and share again so we can hear the sounds. Thank you. So while she's doing that, why don't we just go ahead and do quick intros? I like to just roll with it. Are you ready, Jasmine? Let's play. This is Tracy Harrell. I'm president of the Seattle chapter of the National Black MBA Association. I'm also president of It's All Bigger Than Me Consulting, and Joe has been a part of some amazing sessions we've done. This is Joe Handy, our national president, and we're focused on equity and inclusion. If any organization can make systemic change, it's the National Black MBA Association. So I'm gonna have each of these amazing people introduce themselves and tell us, why is equity and inclusion so important, and what are we gonna do? What are you ready to do as a leader of the National Black MBA Association? We'll start with you, Joe.
My name is Joe Handy. I'm President and CEO of the National Black MBA Association, as Tracy just stated. Tracy and I have a long history of having conversations about this very topic. And one of the things that we see that resonates within our community is the need to be able to have a voice for our community and the need to have people, our companies in particular, live beyond the hashtag and so that there is focus and emphasis in what they're doing beyond what they're saying. So instead of just putting a plaster on their website, we want to see where those dollars are going. We want to ensure that they're going into serving our community as was stated in public statements. So we want to make sure that we're holding them accountable and creating a scorecard of where they were then and where they are now. So we're looking at developing all of those processes and having them in place to ensure that diversity, equity, and inclusion is not just something that they're talking about, but it's actually something that they're doing and they're feeding.
I love it. So you're chapter president and you're part of the board.
So I'm a former chapter president for Memphis, but hi, my name is Leslie Coleman. I am Vice President, Chief Diversity Officer for Nutrien, and I'm also Chair of the HR Committee for the Board of Directors for the National Black MBA. Super excited to be here. Of course, diversity means a whole lot to me. But one of the things that one of our folks said on our spotlight was talking about a culture of care. That's what the National Black MBA provides to all of our members and also folks who are constituents and colleagues of the National Black MBA. Super excited that we allow people to bring their whole selves to conference and also give them confidence in bringing and taking their whole selves to work. Glad to be here.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Donald Comer, and I am the chair of the National Board of Directors of the National Black MBA Association, a longtime, lifetime member, and I'm excited to be here this morning. Diversity and inclusion is what we're all about. We are unapologetically Black, and it is our mission to make sure that we advance the causes that enrich lives for people of color and those who look like us. I am totally invested in HBCUs, and I love what the national organization is able to do to move forward the agenda in that particular space. When you look at the span of a career, it's learning, earning, and returning. And we want to touch at every phase of that. We want to grow, we want to develop people, we want to enrich the lives of HBCU students. So we want to balance the scale, give them an equal place at the start of a race, and then propel them to compete and be successful.
I love it. We have another board member with us today. Tell us who you are. Why is equity, why is inclusion even more important than equity? Diversity, because when they bring us in, they have to keep us.
Sir.
Let's talk about inclusion.
Sir, my name is Cassius Butts. I'm former White House official with the Obama administration. I'm currently Chief Strategy Officer for Global Leader Group. It is important for us to have inclusion, to be at the forefront of every conversation, particularly in today's time. The reason why the National Black MBA Association has an emphasis on inclusion is because we have to have an even playing field just to get ahead. There's no other place other than the National Black, which I like to call National Black.
I think we all like that.
Can you like that? I like that.
We all like that.
You
We all like that.
I like that. It gives us the opportunity to really identify ourselves and also allow other folks who on the external side of our organization know who we are. This organization has been around for over 50 years, and we want to make sure that people know that what we are about, what we have to offer. We have a lot of professional opportunities, professional development initiatives that help corporate endeavors and people who are looking to go into different endeavors. And so it's important. Our board chair has been exemplifying that for a number of years. He's been dedicated to it. Our new CEO, Joe Handy, comes from the world of making certain that everyone has an opportunity for inclusion, no matter whether you're in Seattle, Washington, or Florida, or even right here in Chicago, Illinois.
And by the way, we're in Chicago for the 43rd annual conference. The organization was founded here 52 years ago. So this is just the first of many conversations. We really are creating an inclusive environment where everyone can thrive. So there's more to come. Our theme is renew, refresh, and reset for this conference and for the year. So we want you to renew and reset your idea of what inclusion looks like. More to come. Thanks.
I love it. So this idea of being unapologetically Black, fostering inclusion and living beyond a hashtag. Let me start with some introductions of this amazing crew that I have before us. And I'm gonna actually start with the guy who actually let me call him out of his name that his mama gave him, Damian Williams. David, can you tell us, what do you think when you see or hear this concept of being unapologetically Black, fostering inclusion and living beyond a hashtag?
Well, certainly being unapologetically Black means living in your full Blackness, being proud and happy of the skin you're in, but also not dwelling on the fact, because, you know, we should all be considered as equals, or even in some cases, we are greater than. But I like to say to those who are not Black, that us being unapologetically Black and embracing our Blackness is not threatening to you. It doesn't diminish your whiteness or whatever color you may consider yourself to be. It just allows us to flourish and prosper. And once we all flourish and prosper as a people, society will do well as well. So it's really not a threat to other ethnicities or groups if we are proud and prominent and successful.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you, Damon. Did you say your name? Damian?
No.
Can you clarify?
So everybody, she's been calling me Damian, and that is not my name. So we had a big joke about that. I told her Damian is the devil, and my mama's a saved, sanctified woman, and she will not have it If you calling me Damian, ain't no sixes up there. But yeah, I'm Damon Williams, I'm a stand-up comic, entrepreneur, promoter from Chicago, and Chicago-based. And we all met, I met Tracy and some of the others at the MBA in Chicago. So nice to be a part of this. I'm not an MBA, but I have a life experience that probably should make me a PhD.
Nice. I love it. So the next person I'm going to introduce, I'm going to actually go to Tara C. Smith. And the reason I'm going to Tara, she took a booster today and she's not feeling well. Tara is also sponsoring. She's agreed to sponsor this initiative. Let me make sure you understand what that means. It means that she understands there's a problem and she's leaning in to be a part of the solution. Tara, real quick, give us an introduction of who you are, what organization you're with, and why was it so important for you to sponsor this initiative? And when you hear the terms, she's like a sister girl because we're both in Seattle, but from Florida. So talk to us, Tara, a little bit about your message today.
Tracy, thank you so much. It might be a surprise to the MBAs in the room to find an MPA here from the public sector, but Tracy was really smart to include me in this because government has a role to play. We talk about fostering inclusion a lot. So my role now, I've been director of this agency in the state of Washington for 3 months, the Department of Enterprise Services. Our role, among other things, is to establish contracts across the entire state enterprise, 68,000 employees. That's a lot of money going out the door. I did this work before also in Miami-Dade County at the local government level. And I saw similar issues there on the opposite side of the country as I see here. It became very evident to me when I was going through the interview process for this position that the state of Washington sees equity and inclusion as a big problem that they have to solve. They've done a lot of work. I can go into lots of detail about all the contracting and procurement improvements that have been made over the years after study after study after study has found. And I'm gonna quote the most recent study in 2019, which is minorities do not enjoy equal access to state contracting opportunities. That's no surprise to any of us, I'm sure, in this meeting. But I'm here to talk about holding government accountable for that, to make myself available to talk about the disparity report and how I see the state of Washington addressing those findings and recommendations. There is good work happening. But I am also a little under the weather, like Tracy said, and trying to hold it together right now. So what I'm gonna do is put my email address in the chat. Hang on as long as I can, but I want to be available to anyone here who has follow-up questions for me, who has suggestions for improvement. I love talking about this topic. Government does want to be held accountable, at least where I'm working here in the state of Washington. So I'm going to put my email address here in the chat and hope to hear from anyone else who wants to talk about it more.
So Tara, we're going to do two things for you. So with the Bigger Than Me Success Series, we're family. So we're going to excuse you from the dinner table and let you go get some rest. So thank you very much. She's agreed to sponsor this strategic initiative. We're doing this a monthly event. I got a weekly podcast. Dr. Yan has been on the podcast. Sharon's been on it. Like, it's a conversation. Like, this is not a one-time event. This is a strategic initiative that requires us to engage strategically, and we have solutions. So when you bring those things from under the rug, right, when you start talking about the problems and you really focus on the solutions, we can actually get some work done here. So I'm super excited. She's bringing her checkbook too, which is super exciting, Damon. So remember I told you we may be able to cover your costs. He volunteered some of his time so far, but I told him we had some options coming up. So just put it out there into the universe. Thank you, Tara, for joining us. Please get some rest and we will be back. We'll be more to come with you for sure. So thank you so much. What I wanted to share is that there's a person on this call for each particular need that we have. So one of the other needs that we had was we really want to make sure, I like to say, start with the end in mind, right? We got some problems. I'm gonna have Sharon talk about some of the issues. We're gonna have both Daryl and Jolene talk about some of the history, but I like to start with the end in mind. And one of the end goals is we have solutions. There are things that we know work. And what I'm excited about, after spending 25 years in corporate America, 8 years at IBM, 14 years at Disney, and 5 years at Microsoft, right? Now becoming an international bestseller, now working as a consultant, I'm like this, I'm doing nothing but solving this problem, helping to pull this community together to help us solve this problem. So my question is, are you ready to be a part of a solution? So one person I brought here from the UK, Miss Tracy Stone. Tracy, I'm gonna have you introduce yourself. And it's what time in the UK? 11 o'clock?
Hello, lovely. It's 11:20 and I'm still awake, so I'm happy.
I love that. So we're gonna have you do, we're gonna also give you some grace. We're gonna have you do a quick little intro about how you're going to engage moving forward. So if it's not clear for those who've joined us, this is not a one-time event. I'm just giving you a preview of all the great work that's happening. We're gonna invite you to be back, right? Because it's gonna take us to sustain. Damon, you're nodding your head, because you and I were talking about the need to sustain and kind of keep things going. So we're going to come to you in a minute. We're going to let Tracy share with us some of the things that we know as some solutions, right? So 2 things. This idea of we can be our own solution because we know there's rules of the mind that we know work. But I also want you to talk real quickly about, and again, like a 2-minute overview of some of the work that we're pulling together as a part of the initiative related to changes within corporate America. Can you give us a 2-minute overview? And then I'll talk more about how we've pulled that into 5 other things that actually work.
I can do that, absolutely. A super quick rundown of it. So lovely to meet you all. Thank you for having me here, first of all. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I've just exited working in the corporate world for well over 30 years. And in that time, I spent a lot of years of that with GE. And I have to say, that was my education in the world and in business. And one of the big learnings I took away from that was an amazing model for change, which is called Change Acceleration Process, or CAP for short. There possibly are many of you around this, let's call this a table, today, who have also come from GE or through GE. You might be familiar with this model. If you are, I'm sure you have it in the core of your heart as well. It's an amazing model. I see a couple of hands going up there. Brilliant. It's a model which helps to engage people in difficult change. Now, diversity and inclusion is, I think you will all happily say, or unhappily say, is difficult change. And change is not easy. Now, I do have some slides. So Tracy, if there is time today or another time, I have a few slides that can just explain a little bit about that. But this model helps to take you through engaging people in that journey, because there's no good in trying to just kind of beat people over the head with the positive thing that you know is right, that you know should work, that you know would work. It won't work by telling people so. What makes it work is to engage people in that change, make them want the change. That's probably the sticking point in many cases. Trying to get people to want change is one of the hardest things you can ever do. So this amazing change acceleration process has got a whole toolkit associated. It was designed in GE. It was designed to drive process changes, cultural changes within organizations, any kind of change. But it's not only about process, it's not only about organization, it is truly how do you bring people on a journey of change? And that's what I have made my life's passion over the last 30 odd years.
Thank you, Tracy. I love that. Now, the other thing that you do, which I'm super excited to share, is you also are a rapid transformational therapist. So the other thing we have to do is we have to convince people that we can change, right? We have the ability to drive, to be a part of that change. So Tracy, just in can you do it in 30 seconds? Can you tell us the 4 rules of the mind and how we're going to leverage those, just really, really quickly?
You know it well, maybe not in 30 seconds, but let's go for it. Yeah. So guys, there's the mind is amazing, but what people don't often realize about it is that your mind is waiting for your direction, not the other way around. So anything and everything that you want to achieve in life, whether it's finding love, whether it's getting promotion, whether it's getting the job, whether it's getting friendships to work, whatever it is, You are in control of your own mind. You are not being controlled by it. So the mind uses a number of rules to help it to understand what it is it needs to do to help you. So those 4 rules, super fast, are: first rule of the mind is that the mind will always do what it thinks you want it to do. Now, how does it know what you want? It listens to everything that you say and everything you think, and it accepts every single bit of that as your truth. It accepts everything that you say, whether you say, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I'm terrible, I'm so forgetful, or whether you say, I'm amazing, I'm powerful, I'm strong, I'm beautiful, I'm everything I need to be, I'm lovable, I'm fantastic. Whatever it is you choose to say, your mind accepts it, and it says, I hear you, let's go and make that happen. So first rule of the mind is that mind will always do what it thinks you want it to do. Second rule is the mind loves the familiar and hates the unfamiliar. So whatever you make familiar, if you want to make familiar eating ice cream every day, it's going to become familiar. And you're going to want ice cream every day. But if you make it familiar to tell yourself that you are worthy, that you are lovable, that you are every bit as good as everybody else out there, if you tell yourself every day, I am at the top of the slate for that role, if you make it familiar, your mind accepts it. Third rule of the mind is that the mind will always drive you towards what you link pleasure with and away from anything you link pain with. But this is an interesting one, because usually we cross-wire this rule and we start linking pleasure with the thing that we actually don't want. Like we link pleasure with eating loads of ice cream. It's not good for us. It's not going to help the figure. It's not going to help anything. It doesn't actually even give us pleasure for very long. A few minutes, that's it. So we start linking pleasure with the thing that actually causes us pain. You've got to start correcting that signal and start linking pleasure with what really gives you pleasure. Pleasure is knowing I'm worthy. Pleasure is knowing I am lovable exactly as I am right now. Nothing about me needs to change for me to be enough. Whatever you link with pleasure, your mind will accept, and it will say, hell, go for it. And whatever you link with pain, your mind will drive you away from. The fourth rule of the mind is that your mind is completely controlled by the words you use and the pictures or emotions that you connect with those words. So if you think, for example, of, I often use food as the example here again, your favorite food. When you think of your favorite food, you can see all kinds of good pictures there. You feel all kinds of good feelings. And when your mind hears a good feeling, feels a good feeling, sees a good picture, when it's connected to a word, your mind says, yes, do it. And when your mind sees a bad image, it says, stay away from that. Brussels sprouts, oh my God, stay away, right? So your mind will drive you towards whatever you link pleasure with. It will love the familiar. It will give you everything that you want just by you telling it. And it's completely controlled by the words you use and how you connect those words with images and emotions. And that's how your mind directs the outcome of your words.
Thank you for that, Tracy.
Sorry. Longer than 30 seconds.
No, that was perfect. Now, the reason I wanted you to invest the time in doing that is because, guys, this is called the Bigger Than Me Success Series. We get to define what success looks like, right? Brene Brown likes to say the stories that we own, we get to write the ending. And stories we don't own us. Well, guess what? The Bigger Than Me Success Series means it's about all of us. I'm gonna pull this up because I actually brought this with, I think I showed this to Damon when we were on our first call. I'm becoming a certified success coach with Success Magazine. And the confidence that I have in that, we can stop talking about what we can't do. Success is repeatable. If you've ever been successful at anything, then I just want those of us who've been fighting this fight for 30 years and are exhausted, or those who've seen the horrible things that happen out in the world. What I'm saying is, in business, we are poised for success. And if we don't invest now, it'll never happen. So my goal for this session is to get people excited conditioned that we get to decide what success looks like. We get to create the future, the change that we want to see. I'm excited, and I hope you're excited too. And the faces and the other voices that we have here are people that also get it. Thank you for that, Tracy. It is 11 o'clock, past 11 o'clock. If you need to drop, I fully understand. We will definitely have you back. Mwah. Thank you. Oh, Tracy and I both wrote in a book together. Like, I think my first book, we wrote an internationally best-selling book called Ignite Happiness. So thank you, Tracy, one of my favorite people. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. Now, the next person I want to bring up is, let me just say that you're all amazing. I'm trying to think of who's on the East Coast. I had to get y'all off early. So, Damon, where are you at?
I'm Central Time in Chicago.
Okay, so that means Sharon is a little sleepier than you might be. So, and plus, I need for her to tell her story, so you have some more material. You know what I'm saying, to work with, because she has an amazing story. So Miss Sharon Blake, also someone who's been a part of this Bigger Than Me success series over time. Sharon, you have a story that is specifically related to someone who had an issue, a challenge, and you decided that you were going to drive change. You were going to lean in and drive change. And a lot of times you heard Tara talk about the disparity studies. They all say the same thing, right? There's clearly challenges that we need to address. But when you put a real person into real stories, I think it's really important for us to think about how broad and pervasive the challenges are right now. And Miss Sharon has a real hidden figure story that she's going to give us a real quick update in like less than 5 minutes.
Okay. Hello, my name is Sharon Blake. Currently, I'm the owner of Life Chronicles Publishing. I started my publishing company to help foster change and healing by sharing our stories, as well as writing. Literally has saved my life several times. But my hidden figure story started when I was a paraeducator at the public school district in Washington State. And I call it my hidden figure story because of the movie. So what happened to me was, I was at work one day and I needed to use the restroom. I was aware that there were 2 staff restrooms available for us to use, but one was always locked. So what one was a public, sorry, one was public, one was locked. And that one was for staff. Those were on the first floor where I worked. So whenever I had to use the restroom, I had to go to one of those 2 restrooms. The public bathroom was usually always full because people were in it, because anyone could use it, staff, parents, anyone visiting the school could use that restroom. So that one was usually pretty busy. The staff one would be often available, but locked. So I remember one day I asked, I was coming back and I was frustrated because I was like, I don't have time to keep running around this building looking for a bathroom, that's unlocked. And so one of the staff members said, well, why don't you have a key? And I was like, no one's ever given me a key. So I went to the administrators, the principal and the office manager, and asked for a bathroom key. I was told that there were none available for me. Went back to my class, kind of, discouraged a little bit, talked to the other paraeducator, and she was like, wow, why is that? And I was like, I don't know. So I'm going to call HR. I wind up calling HR. To my surprise, they told me that I needed medical documentation to receive a bathroom key to have the same access as all other staff to use the restroom. That in itself really broke me on the inside, because now I'm feeling just like nothing, and where do I stand? And just to backtrack a little bit, I had already been experiencing some racial discriminations with little things that the staff had been doing to me. 1, I was the only Black paraeducator at the school, and 2, I was the only Black paraeducator that didn't have a bathroom key. So I raised my concerns with HR. That was the response I got. I let it go for a couple of weeks and then started noticing some other discrimination with the children. At that point, I said, Sharon, either you stand up for yourself, use your voice, or you let this continue. So I met with the vice principal. I voiced my concerns, one about the mistreatment of Hispanic and African-American students who were being punished differently from white students. And two was me without a bathroom key and having to run upstairs to 2 other bathrooms to try to see if they were unlocked so I could use the restroom and get back to my classroom in a timely manner. His response was, oh, well, I'll look into it. Well, that wound up being weeks later. So I wind up calling HR back again. Wasn't weeks later, actually, it was a month and a half later. And I was told at that time that they were told to give me a bathroom key a month and a half prior, which was to my surprise. So after that contact with them, I started receiving bad write-ups, being watched on recess. It was just horrible. So that whole experience led me to fight. I had to, gain an attorney. It was not an easy fight, but my whole point was, if I'm being discriminated against in this way and I'm experiencing this assault on my mental health, what about the children? And so that's the question that I raised to the school district and the board there. And initially, I got a lot of pushback, but they saw my case for what it was, and remedies were made. The biggest thing that I fought for was a new race and equity policy for the entire school district, because my thing is that there was a lot of implicit bias going on. No one knew what they claimed not to know, that that it was considered racist on the way they were treating me, or that they were discriminating against the children. And so I decided that I wanted to fight for a policy change. So me and my attorney, we fought hard for 1.5 years, and we won a whole policy change for the entire district, which includes training for administrators, staff as well, on implicit bias, race, and equity. So.
And what I love about that is that, if you hear the story, this was a couple years ago. This wasn't 1967, right? This was just a couple of years ago. And so, if you think about what's happening, this is what we see on a regular basis. If there's anyone questioning whether or not we need to continue to do this work, it's a no-brainer, right? But also what she brings forward is a success. So she was fighting for the youth. When I think about my why, I want to make a difference for each of you every day, whether you're someone who's responsible for a team and you want to make it more inclusive, or you're someone who's on a team that's less inclusive than you think it should be. Many times, we have an opportunity to drive change, right? And we don't take the initiative to move things forward. So I just want to say thank you to you, Sharon. There's more to come. You're an author of many books, and so you've been a part of this for a while, but thank you for bringing that story forward and the success. So the Bigger Than Me Success Series is not about people complaining, right? It's about people saying, hey, I'm willing to fight for change. I want to be a part of change. And guess what? Change can happen. So thank you, Ms. Sharon. I know you said you couldn't stay very long as well. I would be, if you want to, I thank you. And I appreciate you coming to actually bring your voice forward live. Thank you very much for that. Now, the next person I'm going to bring forward is Damon. Damon.
Yes.
When you and I were having a conversation, you said several things that just cracked me up. But one of the things you talked about was common sense that may or may not be common. Can you tell us about that? And then talk about this idea of us truly creating a space where inclusion is really something that thrives for everyone, and where, where we're holding companies accountable for living beyond the hashtag?
Yeah, well, clearly in her circumstance, and thank you for sharing that, Sharon, it's clear that common sense was not common. For them to have to even to fight or to request or to not be treated equal for a restroom is ridiculous, especially for her to have to run to another department to use one after the movie came out. I mean, we all saw Taraji trying to run in the heels and make it to the bathroom. So at that point, they should have known that was wrong to do. But to hear that story took place in this decade is ridiculous and ludicrous. And it's the subtle, it's the, you know, the pervasive racism and the discrimination and the lack of diversity and equity, but not just in opportunity and not just in, you know, productivity, but in basic human dignity in situations such as that. And that's why I say it's commonly not common, because sometimes they really don't even realize or pretend not to realize that something they're doing as simple as granting access to a restroom is deeply affecting another person beyond the job, beyond you know, just being a gripe, but emotionally, she took that home with her. She's still talking about it. She's probably gonna write a book about it. And that's, you know, seriously, I mean, she should profit from it. So that's going forward. The success is write that whole story. After the book out, get the movie. After the movie, sue the company.
So, Damon, what I love most about you is that, you know, as we were talking about your kind of why you became part of the Black MBA, you said you kind of leaned in to support someone who was talking about humor and how humor can be used within this work around equity and inclusion, which we know is hard work. Right. I was blessed with the positive energy around change, but the next people I'm going to go to are people that have been in the fight. Jolene and Dale have been in the fight for decades. But real quick, Damon, before I go to them, is there anything else you want to share about this idea of what about that flag that's behind you? We, you know, I have videos in the afterflow session. You guys check the chat because we got a ton more videos, a ton more conversations. We got to end this one at 1 o'clock. That's the NHQ rules. And we're going to go to another link so we can get most of you to jump over there. That would be great. There's a ton more new conversations that are going to happen over there. But Damon, you talked about being unapologetically Black. Can you really tell us a little bit more about what that means to you?
Well, for example, this flag, and we kind of discussed that. I noticed not only at Cinco de Mayo, but also Mexican Independence weekend here in Chicago, the Mexicans go ham with the flags. I mean, the flag is everywhere. It's flying from the cars, it's on the hoods, it's in the stores, it's in the community, it's throughout. And we don't represent ourselves like that. So now we have the Juneteenth holiday. And I think this Juneteenth, we should be obnoxiously unapologetically Black and have our flag and get some Black pride back, you know, get Black is Beautiful t-shirts and get the mindset of Blackness being a positive, because if you look at all the images and things that our kids are seeing and they're being fed and systematically programmed through music and television and real life, they need some examples and to exhibit, you know, that pride. So that's why I went out and bought a flag, and I'm going to order a bunch of them. And if anybody knows Chicago, I might stand on the corner of 79th and Stony Island and sell them with the Nation of Islam brothers with the bean pies. Yes. So that we can have them not just for profit, but for the symbolism that it brings us. We need a national unified stance, and flag waving is a big thing, and it's been that for centuries, and we need to wave our flag and plant it as well. So that's what's up with that.
I love it. I love it. So Ms. Paula, before we transition to our national leader, so Daryl was our past board chairman, and I know Jolene was one of our National Black MBA Association leaders as well. And you're currently leading programming. We had over 300 people register for this event in less than a week. I'm assuming you see the energy and the positivity around us leading this work and continuing to do this work. What kind of hope, I guess, would you want to share with people who might be experiencing some of the things that, you know, Black MBA is meant to help to create that culture of care? What would you like to share with them about the importance of us having this type of programming for our members?
Yeah, so I guess I alluded to it earlier during the setup. So last year we had something called the Racial Equity Initiative, where we had companies as well as universities talk about how they enact change, right? And that was us leaning on our corporate partners to be the change that they wanted to see, encouraging other organizations to do the same. I also mentioned, though, in the setup that we have 41 chapters throughout the United States, 21,000 members. So that means even though, yes, NHQ, we are leading this initiative, but through our partners, through our chapters, those are the boots on the ground, holding the hands, walking with our members, helping them to enact change on a daily basis. So the hope that I have to give to people are our chapters, our corporate partners who are enacting this change on a daily basis and throughout the United States and beyond.
Thank you so much. But rest assured, guys, like I said, this is my mission in life. It's bigger than me, Successories. It's bigger than me. It's all about you. And we are doing this work, period. Change, we will see change coming. And we're not just talking about it. We're about moving from real talk to real action. This is about moving beyond those courageous conversations to actually leading change and truly building legacy, creating higher awareness, action, and truly accountability. That's the work that you're going to see in 2022 as a part of this Bigger Than Me Success Series. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring up Daryl and Jolene. I'm also actually going to bring up Dr. Ayanna as well. Let me just do a quick four-way. Daryl, can you start the introduction for us, sir? Identify who you are, and as a past board chairman who's been a part of the organization for decades, what would you like to share with people about why this work is so important, and where are you at right now? How are you feeling? Are you feeling optimistic that change is coming? Not going backwards, let's look forward. As far as being unapologetically Black, what are your thoughts about that and the work we need to do to help companies live beyond the hashtag?
Well, wow. Let me try and condense a lot of things into a few short minutes. I have been very pleased and honored to be a part of the National Black MBA Association. In some ways, a trailblazer for some of the programs that we currently offer. Education, encouraging more Blacks to receive their MBAs, breaking ceilings in corporate America, trying to get more students and alums into corporate America. Leaders of Tomorrow program was one that was launched while I was national president. So I'm very concerned about the youth and continuing their education. And we've done a lot of good things. I look forward in the future as a new frontier for us. And that's helping to increase the net worth in the Black community by home ownership. And I think that's something we need to look at. If you look at parity between personal net worth in the white community and the Black community, we can close that gap with more home ownership. And I have a personal story on that. When I first moved from Chicago to Connecticut, I bought a condo. It cost $52,500. I had $10,000 I put down on that. Went to my other homes. My current home is worth a whole lot more than that. I'll just put it at that. And it's not because I was smart or bright or anything, but I made the commitment to home ownership. And I'd like to see the organization tackle that area. One thing I'm doing now, I live in Michigan. Because of Trump, I made a commitment last January to get more involved in politics. So I currently hold 3 elected positions in Wayne County and Oakland County in Michigan. Oakland County is the 31st largest county in the US, and Wayne County is the 19th largest county in terms of population. And Damon had mentioned Juneteenth. It's interesting, in the town that I live in, West Bloomfield, a suburb of Detroit. It's primarily a white community, but we had our first Juneteenth celebration last year, and it was very well received. And one thing that really shocked me is that how supportive the Jewish members in our community adopted and helped make that event happen. In fact, I had some calls today. We're working on our second annual Juneteenth event that's going to be held in June of this year. So from business school, corporate America, entrepreneurship, politics now a little bit, and still trying to decide what's going to be the next frontier to tackle. But I'm very supportive of the Black MBA Association. I will continue to do that. I think Paula's doing a great job. I'm going to keep pushing her. We're going to get some more revenue coming in.
I love it. Thank you, Daryl.
We'll talk about that. And I want to be a resource for you to help you accomplish things that we know the organization can do. So I'll just cut it off there and give Jolene some time. 1976. So active financial member. Help start the lifetime membership program and read the material about the Here's Your Organization. You'll see a lot of things that I and Jolene and the other officers did during that period while we were in leadership. It's been an honor to be MBA of the Year. H. Naylor Fitzhugh Award winner, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So
This-
Jolene, I'll pass the torch to you.
So hold on, because I just need to make sure we're clear. We don't just bring anybody on. Daryl is one of my favorites, and just like Damon, who's like, hey, let me know how I can help, and I'm in. Lifetime member. This is like the cream of the crop. Okay, these people are past board chairman, all the things he just mentioned, plus things he didn't have time to mention as far as his decades of contributions. So let me just say thank you very much. Jolene, I need you to answer a question. We got literally less than 15 minutes left. Can't believe that, but we do. So I need for you 10 minutes left. So I need you to give me 2 minutes of an actual call to action. As you think about helping companies to live beyond a hashtag, I need you to be real clear. What would you say to an organization who's been talking the talk, but not walking the walk?
Before I say that, I have to date myself.
Please.
So this Unapologetically Black is the second time. I'm Black and I'm proud. Say it loud.
Love it. Yes.
So I was around for the first time when that became the war cry.
Nice.
And the challenge is that we're still making that statement. And I think that the one thing that we have to do is we have to, I love when Tracy talked about this idea of, the mind. It's hard to get people to change their mind. They've got to be engaged in it. But working with white leaders, I'm a consultant in diversity, equity, and inclusion, is very challenging because they are in a space where they believe that they're doing the right thing, that they're thinking the right way, and they don't have much, oftentimes not a lot of interaction with others. So creating a safe space for them to be able to explore some of their biases, explore some of their limited thinking is really, really critical. And I have to say that one of the things I've wanted to do for the last couple of years was to create a CEO roundtable where white CEOs could talk to other white CEOs about how to deal with this issue. And in a way that was candid and straightforward, because unless somebody says it to them straight, it's always going to be cloaked in, yes, this is what I want to do, and then walk away and it's over their head, or, that I talked the talk, but I'm not walking the walk. We've got to bring those together.
I love that. And what's really exciting, let me just tell you the other reason I'm super excited about this. We have all the right people. We have all the right people engaged in this work. But Washington State, whether they're truly woke or not, they got all the infrastructure in place to be woke. Do you understand what I'm saying? There is a CEO roundtable that currently exists that I've been invited to bring this work into. There's an organization called WERE, W-E-R-E, Washington Employers for Racial Equity. They did a disparity study to basically prove what we already know, right? That Blacks experience disparity in every aspect of their life, but they did that really quickly, and they're going into 2022, and that's going to be the next conversation we have. They have an entire pledge, and Dr. Yana, I'm going to come to you next. There's a pledge, right, that they've pulled together that says we are going to focus on inclusion. All the things that Black MBA does, Paula, all the things we do with the pipeline, with youth, with the work that we do regarding making sure we have leaders at the right level, all the work they say that they're invested, right? They're leaning in funds to contribute to this work. So that's going to be the next conversation we have, is we're going to hold them lovingly accountable. Because the one thing I don't like about everything they're doing, I love. They have a 2030 plan. We're going to be dead by 2030. Really? Can we get started now? Can we get some not dead, excuse me. I'm sorry. Sorry, Damon. Excuse me. I didn't mean that. What I meant to say is 2030 is a really long time to wait for substantial change. So we're going to say, what are we doing immediately? So I'm going to help them turn that 2030 vision, that pledge for 2030, into what are you doing now? There's so many things that we could do right now. And that's what we're going to help them do. So just know that you guys will be coming back in front of a CEO panel to the community of people that say they're ready to drive change. We're going to help them with these voices. And so I'm super excited about that. So thank you so much, Jolene. We got 5 minutes left, y'all, and then we're going over. So put the link into the chat, guys. We're going over to another link This link has to close it in 5 minutes. We're going to go over to another session. We have 5 minutes left. Dr. Yana, do you want to give a 2 minutes? Not even. I'm actually, can I pull you into the next thing? Because I want to give everyone.
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to drop.
So then please let me give you. So Dr. Yana is amazing. She is my VP of D&I. She's going to help me. She's going to be like a soldier basically in this work. And Dr. Yana, one of the things you said, which I thought was so powerful, we don't talk about, a lot of people don't talk about the things that we're definitely going to be talking about. Like you mentioned something about SHRM and the fact that oftentimes you give a Black person a title, they don't get any resources, and you're like, go fix D&I. Can you talk about the need for us to do this work in community and why the work that we're doing, this Bigger Than Me success series, this kind of work is so important to help people and to really drive change in organizations?
Well, you know, community organized work has been going on for longer than I've been alive. And it's just now getting its just due. It's evaluative effectiveness in assessing and monitoring its progress, establishing KPIs with respect to community impact. All of those things are historical with respect to the DEI frameworks that we're using now and implementing for not just community impact on developing a sense of community among our associates for inclusion purposes, but also outreach and external facing initiatives that have an impact on the community at large. And I wholeheartedly believe that DEI is founded and fundamentally a product of the civil rights struggle and all of the struggles that are historically stemming from the eradication of the institution of slavery in this country. And if we don't recognize that historical legacy and value the community work that we're doing ourselves and as a collective, we won't be able to be effective as organized people with respect to DE&I and any other movement that we're a part of. All of it's cohesive and coherent when it comes to the impact that we're having and evaluating its effectiveness in a fashion that requires accountability.
Love it, love it, love it. Okay, guys, we got literally 3 minutes. So in the first 15 seconds, you think you can muster up every face that's here. I want to hear you all just say, what is that one call to action that you're taking away or you want people to take away from this conversation? I'm gonna start with you, Daryl. Call to action, literally 15 seconds.
My best call to action is that we can make a change, we can make a difference. We have the talent and resources among ourselves in the organization to achieve some of the goals and objectives that we need to help improve the Black community.
Love it. Jolene.
Believe it's possible.
Love it. Dr. A.
Be passionate. Go forth with gusto, knowing that what you're doing is going to have a momentous impact one step at a time.
I love it. Tracy Stone.
Use your words carefully and give yourself permission to be what you want to be and what you are.
Isn't she lovely? So I'm the active one. She calms me. Thank you very much. Just the tone of her voice. Sharon Blake.
Oh, push past your fear. It's scary to do this work and use your voice, but I'm a firm believer in sharing your story and using your voice. It's not going to be easy, but do it. It's for the kids.
I love it. Miss Paula.
Stop talking and start doing.
Damon Williams, I'm giving you the final words. What would you like to say?
First, I want to commend Daryl Reed for not only being accomplished and being involved for so long, but also for having a full head of hair. Okay. Yes, sir. Congratulations on that. It's one day at a time. You know, every day matters, and do what you can when you can.
I love it. This is Tracy Harrell. This strategic initiative is called Bigger Than Me, because guess what? It's bigger than me, but together it is not bigger than us. There is an afterflow session that's happening here right now. So we're going to ask you to click on that link. But we're also going to ask you to visit us again. We're going to do this every month. Our website for the Seattle chapter is seattleblackmba.org. The national chapter is NBMBAA.org. Tracy, it's allbiggerthanme.com. These websites are all under construction. So, but you can go there to get information, and we want you to be a part of real change. Paula, do you have any final words you wanted to share?
I do. Thank you so much, Tracy. Thank you, panelists. This has been, in fact, incredible. I believe that you feel the same way. We would love to hear back from you. So you will see a link to fill out a survey. The first 25 people to fill out that survey will be entered a chance to win an Amazon gift card. So do not delay. Again, good evening, but also click on that link for the afterflow to continue the conversations. And for all of you who choose not to, have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.